Time to have a look at the French newspapers. France Filmono's with us once again this week, and the ongoing violence in the north of Syria getting a lot of attention in the French press today.
That's right. We're going to start by looking at Libération, the left-leaning newspaper that's looking at the consequences of the fighting in and around Aleppo, so the second largest city in Syria. And Libération wonders, what else can you do but escape? And they sent reporters to the northern area in Syria, where they met refugees who were fleeing the fighting there, so thousands of men, women, children who have left everything behind them. Now, for now, no camp has been set up for these refugees, so they're going wherever they can, either with family members, or a lot of them are moving into Turkey in the north. Now, these refugees tell a chilling tale of the fighting in Aleppo. For instance, one witness says that bombs were falling everywhere as if they'd been shot in a random, blind sort of way. And many people fear that the government is preparing a massacre in Aleppo, similar to what's happening in Homs. And Libération points out that the government is using similar techniques, for instance, surrounding certain neighborhoods and bombing them repeatedly.
And a lot of the papers also focusing on the Free Syrian Army, aren't they?
That's right. According to Le Figaro, the Free Syrian Army is begging for weapons. Now, this comes after the Syrian National Council says that they have disproportionate means compared to the regime, and they're calling for heavy artillery to resist what they call the killing machine that's been put in place by Damascus. Now, French President François Hollande has called yet another emergency meeting for the Security Council, and he says that he wants to avoid any massacre like the one in Homs, and has had very harsh words for Russia and China, and said that France won't let the Security Council be taken hostage when they take over the presidency of the Security Council in August. Now, Hollande has been receiving some criticism for not being tough enough on the Syrian question, including from former President Nicolas Sarkozy. Le Figaro reminds us that Le Parisien, another newspaper, had quoted Sarkozy as saying this weekend that people criticized me for Libya, but at least I took action. And according to this article in Le Parisien that's been taken back in Le Figaro, he says that Hollande needs to be firmer with Damascus.
Okay, well, the economy is back in the news once again here in France, getting a lot of attention in the French press.
That's right. It's on the cover of Le Figaro, Mobilisation Générale pour sauver l'euro. So the EU rallies once again to try and save the euro after attacks on Italy and Spain. So it's yet another decisive week for the EU, according to Le Figaro. And they have an exclusive interview with the president of the Eurogroup, Jean-Claude Juncker, who says that the euro is all we've got, and nobody should put in doubt the collective will of the 17 Eurozone countries. And he says that the European Central Bank and the European Financial Stability Facility could intervene on markets in the week to come.
And also in the economy, the communist paper L'Humanité, they're focusing on the situation in Spain.
That's right. Spain facing austerity, no pasará, so that very famous Spanish quote there. Now, Spanish civil servants are very angry at the Rajoy government's austerity measures, and for the past 3 weeks, they've been using their lunch breaks to demonstrate against the government. Now, there you see a photo of one of those demonstrations in Madrid on Friday, and you see a poster there with a big no and a pair of scissors, so they're demonstrating against the government's budget cuts. They say that the government is robbing them of their purchasing power and blame the government for their bad policies over the last 5 years, which has put the country in the situation it's in today.
And something slightly lighter now. Le Parisien, they're focusing on something completely different. It's about French people choosing to leave France for their retirement. Why on earth would they want to do that, I ask?
Well, Le Parisien has an exclusive report about it, so you can learn all about it. And they say that the number of French expatriates has doubled in the last 10 years, and 1 million are retirees that are living abroad. And so this is kind of exodus of retirees. And on the cover it says, why are these people leaving France? So they have the special report on these senior citizens that are leaving everything behind for golden days in the sun. And popular destinations are Tunisia, Senegal, and most of all, Morocco, where the whole villages have been built for these senior citizens. Now, one of the main reasons is, of course, the cost of living. For instance, living in Morocco is 50% cheaper than living in France. But, according to Le Parisien, it's also because a lot of retirees want a second wind, perhaps a second chance at life, another chance for adventure. For instance, one retiree they interviewed said that life abroad is sweeter, easier, and happier. But it's hard to imagine that life in France isn't that way.
That's very true. Perhaps you can afford more wine and cheese. I don't know if it's as good, but you can afford more of it. Florence, thanks very much. Florence there with the French newspapers here on France 24.
In Rajasthan, there is a school like no other. The students are all women, grandmothers from Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Their home villages have no electricity. But soon they'll graduate as solar engineers and for the first time help their communities to cook, read and write after the sun sets. Join our reporters for a close-up look at India's Barefoot College. Today at 10:15 a.m. Paris time on France 24.
The Week in the Middle East. Keep abreast of the latest news from the Middle East. We bring you all the political, economic, cultural and social events from this region in our weekly Middle Eastern magazine, The Week in the Middle East. Every Monday, 6:40 p.m. Paris time on France 24.